Sarah Krieg as she presents Turkey Baster Confessions, an infertile woman's journey to motherhood. Sponsored by ABC 123 Christian Academy.
It had been 2 years since I gave birth to our beautiful test tube baby, and we decided to call up our scientists and doctors friends and see if they could whip us up another tiny human, because as it turned out, we really enjoyed the whole parenting thing. Now, I remember how difficult it was, the failed fertility treatments, the miscarriages after a heartbeat had been heard, the name we chose for a baby girl that we would never meet. I was just a mess. I would see a pregnant lady in Target and lose it, which is awkward because it's like pregnant lady Mecca in there. But we survived. And we'd clearly forgotten how hard it was because we decided to do it again, in vitro fertilization, and this time with a toddler in tow. Now, there are a lot of things about this whole journey that are hard to accept gracefully. The $29,000 round, that's per round. The bruises that covered my abdomen, preventing me from lifting my son. The weight gain, the hormonal mood swings. I mean, it's just lovely all around. But at the end of the round, they retrieved 18 eggs and 11 fertilized. That is like a super good number for an old broad. And then they take our babies and they put them in these little petri dishes and they watch them grow for 6 days. And then they genetically test them. And on day 6, we came in and heard the news. You got one viable embryo out of 11. Man, I was devastated. But in one went, and one is all it takes, right? And then we waited. 10 days later, after the bank loans and the bed rest and the bruising, I began bleeding. And then crying, it's a theme. And our nurse called. I mean, we were emotionally and financially just devastated. And she said, look, we found this clinical trial. I know you guys are tired, but if you're willing, they're gonna cover most of the costs of another round. And I immediately said yes. And in we jumped to charted territory. We got our baby-making calendar. And whereas this last round cost us like a brand new Honda Odyssey, this new round was gonna be like a used Ford Focus. So super affordable. So in we went, and with a heart full of hope and a belly full of bruises, this next round, they retrieved 15 eggs, 8 of which fertilized. Now, per the rules of this specific study, we were not allowed to genetically test them. So instead, they judged them based on appearance in 2019. It's like the swimsuit competition of the viability contest. And surprise, surprise, my kids didn't do great. We had like a lot of C students in there. And we joked like, maybe they're just artists and they're not great with standardized testing. But my doctor was like, no, this is not great. So we put the prettiest one in, our only B+ student, and then we sent the rest of our kids to the cryo freezer, which is monumental because it's the first time ever in our fertility journey when we actually had leftovers, which gives a whole new meaning to the term ice, ice baby. So our slogan is keeping our fingers crossed and our legs open. We went home and we waited. Bed rest ensued. I took the blood test and I got the call 10 days later. It was a no. Again. And the nurse said, look, we love you guys. We know you have these ones on ice and we want to gift you a free round. OMG, free. And she said, now Dr. B wants to do it his way, so he'd like to put 3 embryos in. And I thought, OMG, 3. Because previously we'd only ever put in 1 embryo at a time because I was terrified of twins. But we went in, we talked to my doctor about it, and he reminded us that these are not good-looking embryos. They hadn't even become blastocysts. The chance of even 1 sticking was so minimal. So basically, we really have to work on his pep talks. But we agreed, and we decided to put in these 3 tiny balls of cells, and their mission was to boldly implant where no embryo had ever implanted before, except for Lloyd. And I am pleased to report that we finally met 2 embryos stubborn enough. Thank you. I think they're cute, and that's good because we don't get our money back, so. Mabel and Walter completed our family last year, and it was a terrible pregnancy because why not stick with a theme? The babies came 6 weeks early. They spent a month in NICU, but we survived. We all made it, and I have just never felt so loved or so tired in my entire life. Now, it took us a long time to get here. This was a decade, a 10-year journey to get us to this point. But we made it, and in 2 weeks, I'm turning 40. Well, thanks. And I have a lot of friends asking me, Sarah, what are you going to do for your 40th birthday? And I told everyone, I will be potty training twins. Thank you very much.